Hey guys, it's Kira and welcome to a new reading vlog. Today is a reading vlog that I'm super excited for. It's my first vlog for the Make Your Myth Taker Readathon, which is the readathon that is being run by Charlotte and Ashley from Myth Take Reads Book Club all throughout June, and I've been looking forward to this one for ages. I am technically a day late in getting started because today is Tuesday the 2nd of June and the readathon did officially start yesterday on the 1st, but I was just finishing off my final read that I started in May yesterday, so I just didn't have a chance to get started on my Myth Take TBR, but today's a new day and I'm so looking forward to getting into my TBR. I have 6 incredible books to choose from and I honestly do not know where to begin because I'm just looking forward to all of them so much. But just to give a quick summary about the readathon if you're not familiar and you've not seen it on social media anywhere, it's essentially a readathon which is all about creating your own myth take character, which is essentially just like a fantasy book character. And so there are like, I think 12 different paths you can go down altogether, each leading to a specific character. And in order to complete the path, you need to read 4 books and there are 4 prompts for each character. I've actually decided to go for 2 separate characters because although I've only got 6 books here, there was a couple where the prompts, I could choose a book that matched up to 2 different paths, and so I've managed to make it work to become 2 different characters. So I'm going for the Monarch, which I've picked 4 books for, and then 2 of the books on there matched up to a prompt for the Courtier as well, and so I've also got an extra 2 books, so hopefully by the end of this month I will have completed the Monarch and Courtier paths. So I've got 6 incredible books and I'm so excited for all of them. Obviously you can go and check out my full TBR if you want a little bit more info, but just briefly I have A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and The Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini, The Wren Hunt and The Wicker Light both by Mary Watson, and also The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Now they all sound so good, and aside from The Wren Hunt, which I've specifically picked up for a prompt to reread a favourite, they're all brand new books and ones that I haven't read before, so I'm really looking forward to reading them all and seeing what I think. But I am not entirely sure where to begin. If I'm perfectly honest, the one that I really want to read the most is actually The Wicker Light, but in order to read that I do want to reread The Wren Hunt first, so that I'm just a little bit more familiar with the story again, because it has been over a year since I last read The Wren Hunt, and so I don't think I want to start the readathon with a reread, so I'm probably going to wait a little while and read The Wicker Light a bit later in the month after rereading The Wren Hunt. And I think the first book I'm going to go for is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I picked this one up for the prompt to read one of the host's favourites, and this is a favourite of Ashley's, and so I'm really looking forward to getting into it. It's a book that I've only heard good things about and one that I'm really looking forward to seeing if I like. It's meant to be quite mysterious and intriguing, and I just think that it's meant to be a very fun and interesting book, so I'm looking forward to getting started with this one, and that's pretty much my main plan for the rest of the day. Aside from reading The Night Circus, the only other thing I really have on today is that I'm teaching a yoga class this afternoon, which is exciting, but other than that I'm completely free and ready to get reading.
Child, I know you're hurt and you can't let go. It's not your fault and you don't deserve all the bad and the hurt. I know you tried so hard. I know you've done your part. It's not fair. You did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up. Just hold on tight. It'll be alright. Your life you've tried to be a good man inside. Did everything that you thought you should. Didn't seem to do you any good. I know you've tried so hard. I know you've done your part.
Good morning guys, and happy Wednesday. I'm certainly happy this morning because we have a really gloomy and rainy day ahead of us, which I love and have been wanting for ages. We've had quite a few weeks of super sunny weather now, which has been really nice because it's meant I could spend loads of time in the garden and just enjoy being outside. But every time we have a really long period of super sunny weather, I always find myself craving a rainy day just to like cool down, chill out and just reset. And I especially love rainy days when I'm taking part in readathons because I obviously want to do loads of reading, and it just feels perfect to sit inside and read when it's nice and like rainy outside, because you don't feel too bad for spending your day inside reading when you can't really go outside anyway. So I love rainy days, and we finally have one, which I'm clearly very happy about. So I'm making the most of it. I've already got a candle lit and I'm essentially just pretending that it's autumn because I've lit my favourite autumn candle. It's like a apple cider and cinnamony type one, and it smells so good. I've got a black coffee waiting for me to like chill out and get cozy, and I'm also going to be doing some more reading of The Night Circus, which again feels like a book which just is perfect for a rainy day because it's so atmospheric and mysterious and just perfect for this kind of weather. So I did start The Night Circus yesterday, and then I read about 100 pages altogether whilst I was making the most of the last of our sunny weather in the garden, and I absolutely loved all that I read so far. I didn't end up doing any more reading after I started teaching my yoga class in the afternoon just because I ended up getting distracted with a few other things, but I did make a start of about 100 pages, which I think is quite a decent start. And I'm already so intrigued by this book because it seems like it's just got so many different layers and things going on, which just makes it very interesting. I don't really know too much about this book, and to be honest I still don't know all that much about it, aside from the fact that it focuses on this mysterious night circus, which is a circus that essentially just like shows up in a place one evening and then is gone by the next morning. And so it's a very intriguing setting, but there are also so many other things going on. The book actually doesn't really start with the night circus. It kind of starts with the premise of this competition between two of our main characters, Celia and Marco. And these are characters that don't know each other, but their guardians do, and these guardians are the people that have set up this competition. And Celia and Marco and us as the readers don't really know what the competition entails or what the purpose of it is or anything really, but it does surround kind of like magical abilities, and that's kind of all I really know with it so far. And they've both been in the book from the point of being young children, and it kind of follows them along their training experience to the point where I'm at now, where they're both like young adults. And so we have that, and we also have the creation of the Night Circus, which is just happening in the bit that I'm reading now. So the concept has kind of just been born, and all of these people have come together to try and create this most incredible and just like amazing circus that's so different from anything else that has ever been done before. So it's very intriguing, and it's also a book which is spanning like quite a long period of time. So I didn't really know when the book was set, but it's set in the late 1800s. It starts in the 1870s, and at the point where I'm at now it's about like 1895 or something like that. And so we've got like a decent span where we're seeing these characters kind of like developing the circus, and also Celia and Marco developing their abilities to use in this competition. And then we've also had a couple of insights from other people who have been to the circus, so it's kind of jumping all over the place, and there's definitely not a linear plot here. It definitely is just moving between different perspectives and different timelines, and I'm so intrigued by it. It's just a very captivating plot. The writing style is just so alluring, and you just want to know what's going to happen because this concept of the Night Circus is so intriguing. And that is essentially all I know so far. But this morning I have a couple of hours free before I'm doing a yoga class in the mid-morning and then another yoga class at lunchtime, so I'm just going to spend the rest of my morning until that point trying to do some more reading, and then probably after that as well I'll get back to reading, and I'll of course keep you updated. I'm so looking forward to a cozy day of reading and also just enjoying this cozy weather, and I might even put on an episode of Gilmore Girls at lunchtime.
It's not fair, you did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up, just hold on tight. It'll be alright. I know you tried so hard. I know you've done it's not fair. You did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up, just hold on tight. It'll be
So it's now about 8 p.m. and so far today I have managed to read about another 100 pages, so I'm now just over 200 pages into the Night Circus. And like I said when I first picked up this book, I'm reading this one for the prompt of reading one of the host's favourites. This is one of Ashley's favourites, and now about halfway into the book I can absolutely see why that is. This book is so whimsical and mysterious. The writing style is so vivid that you literally feel like you are right there in the Night Circus. And yet as a reader you really have no idea what is going to happen from one page to the next, and so it is just such an intriguing read and one that you just like want to be and are completely immersed in, because it is just so unique and just absolutely fabulous, to be perfectly honest. Like I said, there is an element of mystery in this book, not only in terms of the Night Circus as this intriguing and unpredictable setting for the novel, but also in this competition that is going on between Celia and Marco. And I think what makes this so interesting and really easy to sort of become invested in is the fact that you as a reader are in a very similar position to the two opponents, because although they know that they are involved in a competition with one another and know that they must continue to better their magical abilities in order to kind of outshine their opponent, they also don't know what the purpose of the competition is or how a winner will eventually be determined. And so you as the reader are kind of following along with them and being sort of pulled into this world of magical like competition, but you don't know where it's going or what the purpose is or how or if it will ever end. So it's just so intriguing and I absolutely am loving it. I cannot wait to continue reading. I do need to do a little bit of editing work and get a video up, because today I have to upload a video and I need to just get the thumbnail and everything ready, but as soon as I finish that I'm definitely going to be reading more because I'm just loving it so much. And I can't believe it's taken me this long to get around to reading this book, because it's one that I've only ever heard good things about and has always been one that's intrigued me, but for some reason I just never picked it up until now. But I am, to say the least, obsessed. Good morning guys. I fully cannot believe that it's already Thursday. These last couple of months since we've been in lockdown, I have been consistently surprised every single week when each week seems to go faster than the one before it and all of the days just seem to be flying by. But it is Thursday, which is a little bit wild, but here it is and there's nothing I can do about it. The week is going as fast as it wants to go and I've just got to kind of go along with the ride. But it is Thursday and it is a very gloomy and grey day ahead of us, I'm thinking. Which, to be honest, I'm really not mad about. I really enjoyed my cosy day yesterday with all of my candles and cups of tea and lots of reading, and I'm quite looking forward to having another day like that today. So this morning I did start the day with a yoga class, and then since then I got straight back into bed with a cup of tea and just started getting ready, because as well as doing lots of reading today, I also wanted to film a couple of sit-down videos, for which I obviously need to look a little bit more presentable. And whilst getting ready, I've also been listening to an audiobook that I wanted to talk to you about. Whilst this vlog is predominantly focusing on the books that I'm reading for the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon, this audiobook is something that's separate to that, but I still really wanted to talk about it because it's something that is extremely important. And that audiobook is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo-Lodge. This is a book which is obviously extremely popular, and rightly so. It's one that I've been intending to read for quite a while now, but like a lot of people, I've been prompted to really start doing the work that I need to do to educate myself because of recent events that have been happening. As I'm sure everyone is aware, because if not, like, where have you been? There have been some very big things happening in the world with regards to challenging racism and challenging the injustices that are facing black people across the world. Whilst these events kind of kicked off in America recently, these are events which affect Black people across the entire world, and for that reason I think it's really important to recognise that and do your research about what's going on around you in your own country as well as across the world. And I'm mentioning this because I've seen a few people sort of mention that they don't think that the UK is a racist place, and that as someone who's based in England or Europe, that they don't interact with racism in the same way that people in America do. People seem to view racism towards Black people and police brutality as American issues, which is a really easy way to sort of set yourself back from the issue and kind of give yourself the excuse that you don't really have any work to do because you don't see it happening in front of you every day. But that is absolutely not the case. And so whilst there are a lot of books that I want to read in the near future with regards to educating myself on this topic and educating myself on how I can do better as a white person to challenge these injustices, I wanted to start with why I'm no longer talking to white people about race, because Read-A-Thon is a British Black person and she's talking about the history of racism, particularly in the UK, and I thought that was a really great place to start with something that is directly happening every day in front of me in the country in which I live. And so that is the reason I've started with this one, and it is already so powerful. It's about a 5-hour long audio book and I'm about an hour in, so I've still got quite a bit left to go, but already it's just such a powerful listening experience. I had actually originally planned on reading the physical book, but when I went to go and order it, it seemed like it was completely sold out, which is obviously amazing because lots of people like me clearly are trying to do their job at educating themselves. But then I was speaking to Molly from the channel Mind of Molly, who has just listened to the audiobook as well, and she actually recommended that I listen to the audiobook primarily because it meant I didn't have to wait for it to come back in stock and I could listen to it like here and now, and also because the audiobook is narrated by the author Read-A-Thon, and I think when it comes to non-fiction, books that are narrated by their author just have even more power and just like they feel more impactful because you know that they're speaking the words that they've researched and written and have lived and experienced, and so it just made it an even more powerful experience for me anyway. Now, I'm obviously not reading this book in terms of trying to have a critical reading experience or offering my thoughts on what Rennie is talking about, because that is not what this book is all about. I'm purely listening to this book in order to educate myself and learn more and just try to do better and be a better person, essentially. But I would just like to say that if you are someone who is wanting to learn more about this topic, and in particular someone who's based in the UK, I definitely recommend listening to this book. It's already so powerful, and even from the preface where she essentially says that white people often come into conversations about racism from the wrong angle, and they view the sort of statement that white people are racist or that society is racist as a direct insult to them as a person, when that is not the case whatsoever. And so white people often come into these conversations about racism with a defense sort of barrier up because they don't want to confront the fact that they're complicit in a society which puts them at the top and people of colour and Black people lower down. And so it was really, really sort of important for the book to start that way, because it really just provides a good framework for understanding what the book is attempting to do. Like I said, I'm not talking about this book in terms of my critical opinion or even my opinions really on the topic at all, but just to sort of mention that I am reading it. It is very impactful, and I'm really, really glad that I've started listening to it, because already I just feel like I'm being exposed to more and more information that I was not previously aware of, and it's just, yeah, a really great thing for me to be reading. And I'd highly recommend seeking out books like this or this book for yourself and finding information that will help you learn more, because that is kind of what we all have to do right now and what we should all be doing. In addition to this, I'll also have a couple of links in the description down below to some places where you can go to take action in other ways. I do believe that as members of the bookish community, taking action through reading is one of the most powerful things we can do. It's a way that we can both support Black authors and find out more about their experiences, as well as educating ourselves, and I just think it's a really great thing to do as readers. But there are also petitions you can sign, places you can donate, and other things you can do to take action at this time, so I'll have those links down below for you. I'm going to go back to reading now, do some video filming, and also probably do some reading of The Night Circus, so I'll catch up with you in a little bit when I've got some more thoughts on any of the books that I'm reading. So I've pretty much spent the entire morning filming and editing a video, which means that I haven't done a great deal of reading, but now that I've edited and have a video uploading ready to go up tomorrow, and I've done plenty of work so far this morning, I now have pretty much a full afternoon ready to do some reading, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, because I obviously haven't really got any reading updates, given that I haven't done any more reading since I last spoke to you, I realised that I've been really raving about both of the books that I'm reading so far in this reading vlog, but I haven't actually shared any quotes from them, so I thought I would do that before I get into my afternoon session of reading. So I've picked out a quote from both of the books that I'm currently reading that kind of either summarised my reading experience so far or was just really profound and impactful. So starting with Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, a quote that really jumped out at me this morning when I was listening to it and that I've continued to think about all day is, "History is written by the winners." I feel like that's a quote that doesn't really need a great deal of explanation. It's quite self-explanatory, but it's just such a powerful statement, and one which I think does a great job of explaining how injustices and systematic issues can continue to go on because it's the people in power that have the capacity to dictate how other people learn about what has happened. So history is written by the winners is just such an incredible quote, and one which I'll definitely keep thinking about because it's just so true, but something that you don't really think about when you're learning about these things, and something that probably we really should be thinking about more often when we are learning about history and thinking about what's going on in the world. And then for my quote that I've selected from the Night Circus, I picked a quote which I just thought was so very indicative of my reading experience of this book and what I've been trying to get across and why I'm enjoying it so much, and it says, "The finest of pleasures are always the unexpected ones." And I think that is what this book is all about. There is so much richness in these pages, but it's also unexpected and you really don't know where it's going to go from one page to the next, and that makes it all the more exciting and all the more enjoyable. So I'm about to go and make myself a hot chocolate, which I'm very excited about, and then I'm going to sit down and read some more of the Night Circus. Happy Friday. Today is looking like a much brighter day, and I'm honestly not sure if I'm happy about that or not. It is still kind of cloudy, but there's a little bit of sun, a little bit of blue sky, and it's not raining yet, so we'll see where the day takes us. But I have spent the majority of the morning so far, it's currently about 9:30, reading The Night Circus, which I have now finished and rated 5 stars without a doubt. I'm so very glad that I decided to read this one from the reading a host's favourite for this readathon, just because this is a book that's been on my radar for a long time. It's a book that I only ever hear people talking about in a positive way, but it's also a book in which people seem to talk about generally in terms of the way that it makes you feel and in terms of the writing style, but I very rarely hear people talking in great depth about the plot, and for that reason it was always a book that was kind of on my radar as one that I kind of wanted to get to at some point, but there was no tangible bit of plot that I was desperate to find out about what was going to happen. So for that reason it just kind of stayed on my mental TBR for ages until finally now I decided to pick it up, and having read it I can very much understand why people describe it in the way that they do, because although this book does have a really interesting plot, the thing that makes it so intriguing and immersive is the writing style and the way that it describes this whimsical world and all of the things that are going on in the Night Circus in just such a captivating way, and it is the way that this world is brought to life in such a vivid way that you feel like you've been transported into this world of the Night Circus that makes this book so incredible. So yes, the plot is interesting. We do have this magical competition going on, which I feel like is kind of like a bit of a Harry and Voldemort type of thing, and it kind of transpires to be this neither one can live and succeed whilst the other one is still alive and that type of thing, and there are a lot of other complexities going on with that. There are also romances and all kinds of other things going on, so it is a really interesting plot, and there are a lot of things going on. But really what makes this book such an incredible book and what makes it a 5-star read for me was the writing style, which just was so vivid, so whimsical and so immersive, and really unlike anything I've ever read before. So I absolutely loved it, and I'm so glad that I kicked off this readathon with this book because it was incredible. Since finishing that, I've just been getting ready because I'm about to go out for a walk with my little sister and go for a coffee and stuff like that. So whilst I've been getting ready, I've also been listening to some more of Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, and again, no real major updates on that. I'm just listening and learning and soaking it all in, but it is a really impactful listening experience and one that I'm glad that I'm taking in. I'm not listening to it super fast. I'm just trying to really like let it soak in and listening to it like a chapter at a time and just letting all of the information soak in, because it's a non-fiction, it's very information heavy and there are a lot of things being said, and I'm sort of trying to make sure that I'm processing all of the information and really letting it have the impact that it is gonna, you know, obviously have in order to help me become more educated and to learn more. So I'm really glad that I'm listening to that. I'm probably about halfway through the audiobook now, and I'm obviously going to continue listening to that for the rest of the day until I finish it. And then aside from that, my reading plans essentially are that I want to start reading The Wren Hunt, which I'm hoping will be a relatively fast reread, so that I can get onto reading The Wicker Light. Now, if I didn't know that it was actually just the beginning of June, I could really convince myself just by putting my head outside the window that it's actually the beginning of autumn, because it is so crisp outside and so windy and rainy, and I absolutely love it. But moving back onto reading, I know I said earlier that I was going to be starting off with The Wren Hunt. However, I've now made an executive decision that I'm actually not going to be doing that. I was picking this one up not because I feel like it's left my memory too much. I can like relatively recall what went on in this book enough, I feel, to progress with the series. I was just reading it because the prompt was to reread a book that you've really enjoyed. However, I am also planning to do a buddy reread of Normal People along with Carolyn from Carolyn Marie Reads at some point this month, and I may also squeeze in a buddy read of Conversations with Friends along with that to do some extra rereading of Sally Rooney. And I don't like too many of my books each month to be rereads, so in that instance I've actually decided to abandon this one and actually just make a start immediately on The Wicker Light, which I'm very excited about just because I really want to know what it's all about, and I absolutely love the cover of this book. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this one and seeing like how this book develops on from The Wren Hunt, because I believe it's more of a companion novel rather than a direct sequel. So I am really interested to see which new characters we get exposed to and what storylines are explored. So that is what I'm going to be getting on with this evening, and I will of course keep you updated. So it's now Saturday morning and I've just been doing some reading of The Wicker Light, which I'm definitely enjoying. I'm about 80 pages in so far, and I've realised I've not really given you much information about what the premise of this book is and what it's all about. I feel like I went into this just expecting you to know, because it's obviously a companion novel slash a sequel to The Wren Hunt, which I've already read, and I kind of forgot that because I didn't end up reading that one in this vlog, I haven't really given much background about what this book is all about. Essentially, this is a book which is set in Ireland and focuses on Irish folklore, but it is set in the modern day, so it's not like an ancient mythical style book, but it does have a lot of those elements in there and the ways that it deals with Irish folklore. In particular, it focuses on this ongoing rivalry between two groups called the Judges and Augurs, who are both groups which engage in a lot of nature-based rituals and magical ceremonies in order to gain power, make predictions, and just do all kinds of things like that. But they're in this ongoing, very, very long-lasting rivalry, because essentially they both use very similar ways in order to gain their power, but they have different goals and ambitions with what they want to do with it. And so as time's gone on, as we move into the modern day, their power sources have become more and more scarce, and so then they view the other group as a bigger threat because they want to keep hold of all of the power sources, and whilst the other group still exists, they're a threat to it and someone else that wants to gain access. So there's this ongoing rivalry going on, and it's quite interesting because in the Wren Hunt we had Wren as our main character, and she was from an augur family, but in this one we have a dual perspective. We have David, who is a judge, and he was actually a character in the Wren Hunt, but he was a much more of a side character and also definitely an antagonist to Wren's story. So it's interesting to have that kind of opposing view, because this time we're coming at it from the judge's point of view. But then we also have Zara, who is, I would say, the main character that we're focusing on, and she's a complete outsider and isn't involved in either the judges or the augurs. And Zara comes into it because essentially her family moved from Dublin to Kilshamble relatively recently, and once they got there, her sister Layla became very interested in all of this local folklore and wanted to find out more about it, and she kind of descended into all of the darkness and rituals that went along with it, and eventually she was found dead very suddenly with no real explanation for what happened to her. There were no injuries or any real medical indications for why she would have passed away, and yet she did. And so Zara then becomes very interested in finding out what exactly Layla was involved in and trying to figure out how she passed away and just essentially what happened to her. So it's a very mysterious book, and I am definitely interested to follow along with Zara as she learns about this rivalry between the judges and augurs, but also to see why Mary Watson decided to focus on David in particular, because she could have gone for an entirely new character from the judges, but she definitely, I'm guessing, has a very specific reason for having focused on a character who we were already familiar with. And then another thing which is relatively minor about this book, which did make me very happy, was the fact that Zara was just talking about some of her friends from back home in Dublin, and one of those friends was called Kira, but spelt exactly like my name, which just made me very happy. If you're not aware, my mum is Irish, so my name is the Irish spelling of Kira, and people always get it wrong. I probably shouldn't complain because my two siblings also have Irish names, and their names are far more unusual than mine, and they get all kinds of weird pronunciations of their names, but people always seem to get my name wrong, and it seems to be such a struggle for people to get their head around pronouncing Ciara as Kira. Throughout school and just in life in general, I've always had like Kyra, Kiara, Clara, Cara, and my least favourite one by far is Sierra, which I just really do not like because it just does not sound like my name whatsoever. But people always get it wrong, and I'm also such an awkward person that I'll like correct people 1 or 2 times, and if they still continue to get it wrong, which always happens, I'll just accept that my name will have to be said a different way forever as long as I interact with that person, because I just get too embarrassed to keep correcting them. But essentially, my point being, my name never comes up, and when it does come up as the sound Kira, it's usually spelt with a K, and then when it's spelt like my name, people always say it in a different way. And so it was really fun to read this book, which I know is set in Ireland, because then I know that when the name Kira is in there and it's spelt like mine, it's actually meant to be pronounced that way as well, which is just really fun. I know a lot of people will be reading this and not be familiar with Irish spellings because people really are not very confident with Irish pronunciations, and so I'm sure people will still read this and read it as Sierra or whatever, but it's just a minor mention of my name. But I feel like if you are also someone who has a name which is relatively uncommon or has a bit of a different spelling, you will also be able to relate to the fact that it's just so fun when you actually see your name coming up on TV or in books or something, because it's just such a novel and unusual experience. Don't know if it's just the way the sun is shining on my face this afternoon, but these dark under eye circles are popping. I feel like I look like I've not slept in about 3 weeks, when that is absolutely not the case, but to be fair, I always look like this, so I guess I should just move on because this is just what my face clearly looks like. But moving on, it is Saturday afternoon, and I just finished up listening to Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. As I mentioned when I first picked up this book earlier this week, I didn't want to read this book in order to offer any kind of critical opinion on the information that was being shared. I purely wanted to read this book in order to gain more of an insight into what is currently going on in the world and what has been going on in the world for many, many years with regards to racism and just the prejudices that are so structurally ingrained in society. I picked up this one in particular with the context in mind that this was a book which focused on this subject in a British context, and having now finished it, I'm so glad that I did, because I feel like it had an even greater impact on me reading it and knowing that it was based on the society in which I actually live. This is obviously a global issue and it's important to learn about what's going on all across the world, but in terms of starting an educational journey with regards to this topic, I just felt like focusing on what is going on in the place that I actually live was the best place to start, and having now read it, I can definitely confirm that for me that was a really, really good move. This book was absolutely incredible. It was so impactful and educational, but the information was also very digestible and written and spoken in an accessible way, so I really would recommend reading this book if you're also wanting an introduction into this topic. I think it did an incredible job of combining objective, historical and contextual information with personal experiences, particularly those of our author Read-A-Thon, but also of many other people as well. And by combining this historical information and objective context for basically the systematic structures of racism in society, then with how that has impacted people's real lives, I just felt like it did a really good job of exploring this subject in its entirety. I had actually originally intended to read the physical copy of this book, as I've already mentioned, because I'm typically a physical book reader. That's just my preferred format, but obviously it was sold out and I didn't know when it was going to be back in stock, and I really wanted to read this book as soon as possible, and I'm so glad that because of that I decided to go for the audiobook, because I really do feel like that was the most impactful way to read it. Like I said, there's a lot of personal experiences interwoven with this book, and the fact that it's then narrated by the author, I think just helped to make the book even more impactful, and you could really just sense the power behind what she was saying in terms of how it was reflecting on her personal experiences, and you could also tell just how much research and thought had gone into the words that were being spoken. And although I'm sure it would have been just as impactful to read it in a physical format, I'm personally really glad that I did listen to it, because for me I just think that that made it an even more engaging experience. It's kind of also changed my opinion on audiobooks a little bit. I still think that when it comes to fiction books, which are, to be honest, my preferred type of book, I don't read a lot of non-fiction, I'll still stick primarily to reading physical books. But I absolutely love podcasts, and for me, listening to this book as an audiobook felt a lot like a podcast. And I feel like that just made the information really stick in my head a lot more than perhaps it would have done if I was reading it physically. So I think now going forward, when it comes to reading non-fiction, which is something that I really want to do more of, I think I will tend to look more for audio formats, because I really did just find this to be a great way to consume this book. So in terms of the rest of Saturday evening, I need to make some dinner and then edit a video, this video in fact, and I'm also going to continue reading The Wicker Light, although I'm not sure I'm going to finish that one before this vlog ends. I will of course keep you updated. Well, on second thoughts, although I am definitely planning to continue on reading The Wicker Light this evening, I am still only just over 100 pages in, so about a quarter of the way into this book, and I feel like I spent so much time talking about the Night Circus throughout this video that this vlog is probably already very, very long. So instead of carrying on talking about this one today, I'm just going to carry this one over and start off next week's vlog with this book. So with that being said, that will bring this week's vlog, the first week of the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon, to an end. I hope you enjoyed hearing all of my thoughts on the Night Circus, because I loved that book so much, and I'm so glad that I finally read it. It was a really brilliant start to the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon, and I'm excited for all of the other incredible books that I'm going to be reading in June as well. I'm especially excited to carry on with The Wicker Light, because what I've read so far is super dark and mysterious, and I'm so intrigued about what's going to happen. So thank you so much for watching. If you've read The Night Circus, definitely let me know your thoughts down below, because honestly I'm so blown away by how incredible that book was, and I already cannot wait to read The Starless Sea, also by Erin Morgenstern, because the main thing that I loved about The Night Circus was just the absolutely incredible, vivid and whimsical writing style. So I feel like no matter what she writes, I'll absolutely love it. So that one is definitely moving its way all the way to the top of my TBR, and I can't wait to get to that soon. So definitely let me know if you've read that one as well. But yeah, that'll be it for today's reading vlog, so I hope you've enjoyed hearing all of my thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.